The information provided in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes and does not substitute for professional advice.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of Another Day, Another Vagina, where we talk about everything women from A to the V. This is Jen.
Hey, everybody, this is Natalie.
Hi, Natalie. We're apart today.
We are.
But we have something very important to talk about. Do you know what today's letter is?
N for Natalie?
Well, you know, Natalie is high dollar, but it's M. It's M for money. Yay! That's why I wore this green shirt.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah. I didn't get the memo.
Yeah, no, you didn't know that we were going video.
No,
but your tattoo does look super cute.
I mean, which one?
That one, yeah. If you want to see Natalie's tattoo, you have to watch us on YouTube. All right,
to be continued.
Yes. So I think what we've been trying to figure out is, why the hell are we broke?
You know, I think that is a never-ending question of why, because I feel like we work our asses off and still manage to never have money.
Yeah, you know, I've asked people when I went out to eat, you know, when I was at concerts, I asked Fred, the Amazon guy that comes to my house every day. He had no idea. So I don't know. Yeah, so I think a lot of our listeners, I mean, they're in the same boat. They work and they have no money. So we had to get a professional. You know us, we have a guest.
Of course.
Hi, we have Eileen Joy from Money Coach for Moms joining us. So welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you guys so much for having me. We are going to have so much fun talking about money.
Yeah, well, you know, we can make anything fun.
Same.
So we've been asking ourselves, why the hell are we broke? And we're hoping that you can shine some light on that for us.
Yes, please.
Well, if you really think about it, the whole country's broke, right? The country itself is in trillions of dollars of debt. And our country borrows trillions of dollars from other countries just to stay afloat, right? So it all starts from above and trickles its way down, right? So the next step down from there is our banks, right? And our banks are what's keeping us in debt. They're not helping us get out of debt, right? They're like, here, get another credit card. Ooh, look, there's an introductory period where you can get stuff, you know, and they're like, and then they get you and you spend, and bam, you're paying 30% interest or more on your purchases for the rest of your life, right? And that's what's happened to our country. And it's all because we don't learn about money in school. Did you learn about money in school?
I remember learning about money, how to balance a checkbook and things like that. But I mean, we've went away with checkbooks. I have one. I think I've had the same pack of checks for probably about the last 15 years.
I don't know what school you went to because we didn't learn shit in North Carolina.
Well, that's why you're in North Carolina.
Yeah. I know. I need to call the government and say, hey, just so you know, you didn't teach me nothing about money.
I mean, you learn your basics. My mom was an avid checkbooker. She used to balance her checkbook to the cent. And I would be like, why don't you just round it up? And she, you know, for me, I'm all about a little bit of wiggle room. And she's like, no, it has to be exact. So I know exactly how much I have. And I'm like, no, it just seemed like too much work, which it is too much work. But it's just like home economics. They let go of that. And it's like all these things that these kids need they just do away with. No funding. There's no funding. There's no funding. It's sad.
Well, it's also that most of this country, there is no financial education in schools.
Yeah.
And even people that go for a finance degree don't get taught how to manage their own money. I actually have clients who have doctorates in finance that teach finance in school, but have no idea how to manage their own money. They're great at taxes and all kinds of other things, but they can't. It's mind-blowing. And when you really think about it, where do you really learn about money? Right? Natalie touched on it. It's at home, right? Because they don't learn about it at school. So because we're not learning about money anywhere else, it falls on the parents to teach the kids. But if the parents don't know what they're doing, they're not teaching the kids, right? They're not going to sit you down and say, hey, let me show you how to do a checkbook, right?
Yeah.
Money, right? They're not going to teach you that. Like my parents didn't either. And so it really goes back to, it all starts with your money story. So your money story simply starts from the time that you're born, right? So between the ages of 0 and 7, that's when we start to learn everything, right? How to be a human, how to walk, how to talk, and just how to be in the society where you live, right? So between the ages of 0 and 7, you're being shaped. And part of that is money. Even though you're not being sat down directly and saying, you know, this is money and this is what you do with money and we spend money and we save money, we invest money, all these different things. You're not being taught that. You're being taught by watching and listening to your parents and your environment. So if you think back to when you were little, like what was money like in your house, right? And this is what shaped you then and what's still stuck in your subconscious now and how you take in all the money messages that are coming to you every single day, all day long, whether you're noticing it or not, right? Like, for example, in my house, everybody in my house was a spender. My mom was a spender. My dad was a spender. My dad also had a gambling addiction. So they both had great jobs and they made great money, but there never was any money because it would come in and it would be gone. My mom would spend it and go shopping. My dad would go gamble, and then they would fight about it. There's no money. There's no money. And then like the fights got so bad that there was just so much screaming, holes punched in walls, furniture thrown. My sister ran away from home the day she graduated from high school. Like that's how bad it was. And so we learned money's bad. Money causes fights. When you get money, you need to spend it and get rid of it. It's bad. Money doesn't grow on trees. Like all these things that we heard when we were growing up. And all the clients that come to me, they all have different money stories, right? So if you think about in your house, did you talk about money? Was it fought about? Was it avoided? Or did you talk about it as a family? And did you sit down together and say, hey, let's plan a vacation and save money for it? And, you know, all these different things. And it's, if you think about, just think back to what it was like in your house.
Natalie, do you want to go first with your money story or do you want me to?
God, the question is which I mean, growing up, we didn't really have a lot. So it wasn't something that played a big factor in my life because I already knew not to ask. We don't have it. So you grow up and you learn that when I get older, I'm going to change and I'm going to do different. And, I mean, my parents were divorced. My dad definitely did not know how to save money. He is a spender. My mom was a spender, but she also made sure bills were paid on time and was responsible. And I feel like I have the best of both worlds. You know, making sure that my stuff's paid on time. But yeah, every now and then, do I like to splurge? Yes. I feel like I work hard for my money, and as long as bills are paid, kids and families taken care of, I should be able to buy this every now and then. Now, do I have buyer's remorse after I buy it? Every time. Every single time I do. But usually my husband's like, just keep it, like, don't return it. Because I would buy myself stuff that I really wanted, and then it would eat at me, and then I would go and return it. And my husband was like, why do you do that? Just keep it. Like, you deserve it. We're fine. So, I mean,
The cashier's like, oh God, not you.
we're just here, man. Why are you returning this?
Well, so for me, I grew up poor. My mom, she had some issues, and so she blew through money, borrowed money, never paid money back. My dad, I think his kind of mindset on it was the man is the breadwinner, so why teach Jen about money? You know, I mean, he didn't know I was going to be married so many times. So in his defense, but you know, yeah, I mean, that was, why would they set me up for knowing how to take care of myself, knowing how to do my own finances, because that wasn't my job as a woman. I mean, do you see that?
Yes. We're taught as women, because of previous generations, to be small, be quiet, let the man handle it, right? Marry rich, or whatever you hear. My mom always said, marry rich, you know, and it was always like, well, why can't I do it? You know, and like still to this day, I have so many women come to me with very similar stories to what you both have. Like, Natalie, you growing up thought to yourself, well, I can't have it, so I'm just not going to ask.
Correct.
Right? So you grew up in this scarcity mindset of, I can't have it. I'm like, and it goes back to your self-worth too. It's like, oh, I'm not good enough to have that. It goes deep, right? And whether you realize it or not, that's stuck in your subconscious, right? And then growing up not having, right? You feel the same way, right? I can't have it. Like in your mind, you're just like, I can't have it. I can't. Even though you probably can, right? But you grew up that way and it's just stuck in your body that way. So when you are now thinking about money, think about how it makes you feel. Because everything that you do with money has a feeling, right? Money is energy. That's all it is, right? Money's paper and coins, not even anymore, right? Now it's plastic and air, right? It's on your phone, you answer, right? It's just, there's nothing there, right? Like when we were growing up, there was paper and coins. And we were able to feel it and touch it and smell it and reconcile a checkbook. And like, no one does that anymore. Right. Now we just look at our phones and we say, oh, do I have money? Yes or no? Right. And when you're growing up with these feelings of, I can't, you take that with you forever until you realize it. Now you can't unhear it. So next time that you're doing something with money, notice how you feel. Right. Notice what your body's doing too. Like, is your heart racing really fast? Are you sweating in places you don't want to talk about? Right. It's like, how does it make you feel? Like, and like the guilt, right? The guilt causes so much stress in your body.
Yeah.
Right? When you know how to take control of your finances on a daily basis and plan for these things so you can have fun with your money while still paying the bills and saving for your future and having fun vacations and going to fun concerts and doing all the different things, you won't feel that guilt anymore over a little bit of time. It'll take a little time for you to be like, wait a minute, I have the money. This is weird. And it's like, I still remember when the first time I forgot it was payday because I had money in my account. And before that, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I would always say, I can't do that. I got to wait for my next check.
Yeah.
Right. And most people say that, right? I got to wait for my next check, or I got to wait to get paid, or I got to wait for this client, or whatever it is. Right. And that's how we live. That's how we're taught. We're taught to be spenders. Right. But what I teach are the 4 buckets. This is what I taught my son. I started teaching my son this when he was 6, and he's now 12. He knows more about money than most adults, and he's going to be a multimillionaire by the time he's my age because I've set him up. Right. And all I did was teach him the 4 buckets. And that's all I teach my clients is how to use the 4 buckets. And it's really that easy. And everyone thinks money is so hard because when you look on Google University, You know, it's like you type in anything about money and it's like, I don't understand anything that I just read, you know, or you watch something on TV or you listen about the stock market and all you hear is like the Charlie Brown teacher, like, wah, 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 wah. And you have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
And so then you just tune it out, you forget it, you avoid it, and you just continue spending money. But once you learn how to use the 4 buckets, which are saving, investing, giving, and then spending, right? So we learn how to do this all at the same time, right? So every time you get paid, your money goes into the 4 buckets. So you're saving, you're investing, you're giving, and you're spending all at once. And so anything that's important to you, you're putting away while you're still being able to pay your bills and have fun and go out and buy gas for your car, which costs, $3 million now, right? And all the things. And then you're still able to save for emergencies. You're still able to save for those, what I call unexpected expected expenses, which are things like, oh, my car insurance is due every 6 months. And oh shit, I forgot.
Right.
But it's like, it's coming, right? You just don't plan for it. And, the really big surprise stuff, like with your house, or maybe you have a pet and you have an emergency vet visit that costs $4,000. Like that happened to me with my dog and x-rays and the surgery. Right. And all these things that just come up, right? Everything is so random, but it's not. Right. And once you start to really understand your life, because personal finance is personal, right? Everyone's life is totally different. Your lifestyle is different. Your income's different. Everything about your family and where you live in the country or the world is different, right? And so everything is personal to you, right? So when you're planning your money, it's personal to you. There's really no like cookie cutter way to do it because your life's your life. And I teach what's called values-based spending. And essentially what that is what's important to you. And that's how you spend your money. You spend your money on the things that are important to you. Instead of just running to Target for one thing like deodorant, you run into the store, you come out later with $300 worth of stuff and you forgot the deodorant, right? and you're like, what the hell did I just buy? Right? We've all done it, yeah. Right? And then you feel guilty and then you feel like shit. And then your husband tells you, oh, just keep it, but you're like, no, I don't really want this crap.
Why do I need 6 candles?
Right. I love these decorative pillows. I don't have anywhere to put them. I already have so many, and it's like, and it's like you're trying to fulfill a need, right? But it's also like that dopamine hit that you get from like when you eat really good pizza. Like I'm from New York and we have the best pizza. And every time I go home to visit, it's the first thing I get because I can't wait to eat the pizza. But it's like that when you shop too. It's like you get that dopamine hit every time you spend and you get the thing, right? But then you need to keep doing it, right? It's like overeating. Same thing with spending. And you feel guilty then because you didn't plan for it. And then you're like, damn it, I got to pay my bills now and I don't have it. And then it's like this vicious cycle that just keeps going on. And then you're like, where's my money? Why is there more month at the end of the money? Why am I so broke? I don't get it. I have a great job. I'm in a great spot in my life right now. I should have more. I should have something to show for it, but I don't. And then the embarrassment starts, right? And then you don't want to talk about it because you're embarrassed. And then you get anxiety. And then all these awful feelings start coming up about money. So everyone is just walking around with like one big stress, anxiety-ridden person, embarrassed to talk about it. And that's why money's become so taboo.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me back up. I think it's hilarious that you called it Google University because we call it Dr. Google in our job, Dr. Google. And you called us out because we travel, we go to concerts. I mean, that's the thing. Everything you said is like what we do. But
same.
I don't know. I feel like life is just too short and I want to enjoy while I'm here. I feel like as long as everything's paid for, I have a little savings. Hey, I feel accomplished. But I don't know. Growing up, like I think probably like pre-teen, my mom like instilled to me and my sister, never depend on a man. Always have your own money. you don't, finances is a tricky thing. You don't share.
Natalie, we can't hear you.
Can she hear us?
I don't know. Well, anyway,
We'll come back to Natalie.
we can't hear you. We'll come back to Natalie. But yeah, so that's funny that she would say that her mom taught her to not depend on a man when my family taught me to depend on a man.
Exactly.
So
That's what I'm saying.
You see both those things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so fascinating too, because I talk to men all the time who feel like so much pressure.
Yeah.
Because like families like yours, right? They put pressure on the man to do everything, right? To provide and to make sure that everything's handled, right? And so they feel that they just have to take care of everything, and it just puts so much weight on their shoulders. And then the woman spending it all, right? And then they blame everything on their wife or their partner or whoever, right? It's all their fault. They're spending all the money, and then they fight. Yeah. I see that all the time. But it's really interesting, all the different dynamics that people encounter with money. And through your life, it changes as your life changes, but you don't realize it because we're not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can even see like movie stars or people that win the lottery, right? Most of them don't handle their money properly. And like even recently, I don't know if you've heard, I mean, there's so many stories, but here's like one. Nicolas Cage, really famous actor. He's in a ton of movies, right? He was worth $150 million, his net worth at one time. And then he was contacted by the IRS for tax evasion. And he hadn't paid his taxes in years. And he just spent his money like crazy. He bought a private island and he would buy all kinds of art and just spend. I mean, like, you name it, he probably bought it. He bought 2 castles overseas, and he bought so many homes. He bought a haunted house in New Orleans. Like, if you look at all the stuff that he bought, it's hilarious. But he spent every penny that he had.
Yeah.
And you would think, well, if I had $150 million, I'd be fine, right? But if you're taught to spend, that's all you're going to do. It doesn't matter how much money you have. And then you're SOL at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And now he has a $14 million tax bill that he needs to pay or he's going to be arrested. So he's been doing, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been paying attention because I know the story, but he's been doing a ton of movies lately, a ton. Any kind of movie he could possibly get, a role that he could get, he'll do it, even if the movie's bad, just to get money to pay this tax bill. And he's paid about half of it off already. And it's crazy. Like, it's going to take him a really long time. But
wow.
Yeah.
I think for me, I just feel like I want money, don't get me wrong, but I also live by you only live once, like Natalie was saying. And where's the line between that? But then I tell myself, well, if I would just save money, then I could live that way and still have money. So what do you suggest to people like me who just have that mentality of, well, hell, I might not be here tomorrow. Might as well spend my money.
Well, do you have a family? Do you have kids?
I have 5 kids.
That's what I'm saying. Right. So you want to leave some type of legacy for your kids.
Yeah.
Right. Which is also the best legacy you could leave for them is giving them a financial education. Because when you're gone, what are they going to do? Same as you, right? Yeah. You've already programmed their money story, you and your husband, right? Without even realizing it. Like, they've got all 5 of them have now 5 different stories. Watch, you ask them and they will be 5 different stories. And it's fascinating because my sister and I, we talk about it and we have different stories. They're similar, but different. And it really comes down to understanding that I don't want to be broke anymore, or I don't want to feel broke.
Yeah.
Right. Because everything comes back to how you feel, right? You feel like crap when you think about money. Like both of you are talking about it like you feel like shit. Like I feel guilty. I feel like, bad when I spend. I feel like everything is a negative feeling, right? So what we want to try to do is work on that money mindset, because your money mindset rules everything. To start feeling more abundant and happy and flowy and joyful and grateful with your money. And one of the very first things that I do with my clients, and I even talk about it on my podcast, so I highly recommend that you too try this, is at first it feels weird, but everything that you do for the first time feels weird, right? So go with it.
Okay. That's what she said.
Okay. Right. So I call it the morning money minute, right? So every morning you take 1 minute and you look at your phone, look at all of your money accounts, your bank account, your credit cards, like all the things, right? Savings, investments, whatever you have. And you thank your money instead of looking at it and being mad at it for going away, right? What we want to do is thank it for paying the internet bill so that we could be on this call right now. Right?
Okay.
Thank your money for taking you out for dinner the other night and having the best time. Right? Thank your money for the air conditioner in the summer when it's freaking hot out. Right? Thank your money for the good things. Right? If you went to a great concert, thank your money for that. If you had an emergency vet bill and your dog is now saved and still alive, thank your money for paying that vet bill. Right? Don't be pissed at it and be like, damn it, now I'm set back $4,000, because that just puts that feeling on money that money is hard and money is bad, right? So if we start flipping it to, I'm grateful to have this money for providing all of these awesome things in my life, it starts to change in your brain. And it starts to make you feel different and happier and more abundant and joyful and flowy and wonderful about your money. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you're going to flip a switch and be like, oh, I feel so awesome now about my money. No one ever feels that way like overnight, right? So it does take time, but it also that's where you could start, right? You start there just by noticing, well, what am I spending my money on? Why am I so broke? Where the hell is it going? Right? And instead of ignoring it, because a lot of people, when they don't want to face something, right, we ignore it. And then we put our head in the sand, like, an ostrich covering up with the sand, right? And you just don't want to come out, and maybe you might peek a little and go back in, right? And it's like that with money. It's like that with anything that you don't want to face, right? And once you just start noticing and thanking and saying, you know what? Maybe I really don't want to spend my money on those things. Maybe I'll stop that subscription, or I'll cancel that app, or whatever, the little things first, right? You start noticing these things, and then you start realizing, well, what's really important in my life? What's important? Do I want to retire someday, or do I want to work until the day I die? Right? Like for me, that was important, because after my divorce, I lost everything. I had to sell my house to pay for my divorce. I had to get a new job because at the time I was working with my sister-in-law, now ex-sister-in-law. Right. And the office became a disaster. I needed to leave, right? So I had to find a new job. And then my son and I got into a really bad car accident. Both ended up in the hospital. I'm still dealing with a neck injury from back then. This was all going on during my divorce. And then at the tail end of a bankruptcy. And so at the end of it all, my attorney's office, they seized everything that I had. So even after I sold my house, they took the proceeds to make sure they got paid first before they would even give me the money. And so when my divorce was final, they sent me a check in the mail for $347. And that was all the money that I had left in the world as a single mom with a 5-year-old. And I was like, WTF, right? And then I was like, on the floor in the fetal position for quite some time with lots of tears, right? And then, I had to pick myself up, because what's important to me at that time was, I'm now a single mom with a 5-year-old. I got to get my shit together, right? And so at that moment, that's what was important to me. So I got the job, I got the car, I got the house, I did all the things. And then in a very short time, I had a fully funded emergency fund, debt-free. I had to get a new car. I had a 6-year car loan on that car. I paid it off in 3 years. I'm now on track to retire early, and I was able to fire my financial advisor. I do it all by myself. And now I teach all my clients how to do that, right? And how to teach your kids, right? Because we have to change these generational patterns, right? If we think about, we learn about money from our parents, right? Well, where did they learn money from? Their parents. Their grandparents, right?
Yeah.
Where did they learn money from? Oh, their parents, right? And it goes backwards and all the way back to our ancestors thousands of years ago when people were bartering chickens and, cows for instead of using money, right? But it's now money. And only 10% of the world actually uses paper and coins now, right? It's all just air. And so because of that, no one's really paying attention because you don't count it anymore. It's just nothing. Right? It's just numbers. And it's become this like intangible, meaningless thing until you get the bill and you're like, shit. Right?
Wow. So I guess going back to the buckets, I'm going to call myself 1 out of 4 buckets. Mm-hmm. How many buckets do you have, Natalie? Oh, no, we still can't hear you.
Hold up your fingers.
Okay. For the people listening at home, Natalie says 1 bucket as well, and that's spin.
I'm going to assume they're spending, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can put some money in savings, even though I don't know how much to do. But as far as investing, the only investing thing I've ever done is my 401k. I have no idea what it does. I just put the amount of money in there that my boss told me to put in. I don't even know what it is. I don't know, 3 or 4%. So the term investing scares me. I don't know where to start, and I don't think our listeners know either. So just some advice from you. Where should we start with investing?
Okay. The first thing you need to understand about investing is that there's so many buzzwords out there that make you scared, right? And all the new things like crypto and Bitcoin and all these new things that people are like, I just made $1 million and lost it the next day, and it's like, it's scary, right? And you hear about how the market goes up and down and it's a roller coaster, and you look at your 401k and it goes up and down and every day is different. It's different than a savings account, right? When you put money in a bank, that's your money. It sits there. It's like putting it in a shoebox, right? And if you use a bank like the big banks like Chase and Wells Fargo, and so many are going out of business now. Like every time I think of one, I'm like, nope, they're out of business. Nope, they're out of business. But like Chase and Wells Fargo, the big ones that are still in business. So if you use those for savings, they're not giving you any interest at all. So it's like putting your money in a shoebox, right? And with investing, it's all about the interest. Okay. So most of the money that you make from investing is from letting it sit there for a really long time. And so the difference between the two is savings is for something that you're going to use short term, right? It could be something like if you own a home and maybe you might need to get a new HVAC system pretty soon because it's getting old and you want to put some money aside, or there's a hole in the roof and you need to fix it, like things like that, or the vet bill, like things like that. Savings account, right? And then there are other savings accounts that do give you way more interest, just not Chase and Wells Fargo. They're out there. And then investing. So investing, what you're using that money for, like your 401k, and then there's other types of accounts that you can have that can be used for later on in life, like a retirement account. There's also a different account called a brokerage account that you can use that money for anything. You don't have to wait for retirement. The retirement accounts have rules. They all have rules. And the rules are so simple, but I'm doing air quotes, right? The money people out in Google land make you think it's hard and that you need them to do it for you, right? They want you to be confused because there's so many rules and so much jargon and like the vocabulary that you need to use for all the money different things. You don't need to know all of that.
Yeah.
You really don't. There's so much that like regular people, right? Regular W-2 employees, 1099 employees, self-employed people that are small business do not need all that, right? All the other things that they make you think you need, but you don't. Okay. And they make it seem like you need my help. You need to pay me lots of money to take care of this for you, but you don't. You can do it yourself. And it's just by learning a few little things and you set it up and you have your money just automatically go in every single month like you do with your 401k, right? It comes out every time you get paid, it automatically goes in. Same thing with investing. It just goes in your account and you let it sit there for the rest of your life and you let it grow and grow and grow and grow, right? And the interest, the longer it sits, the more interest you make. And the more interest you're making, the faster it grows. Like, for example, the market's been really great in the last few years. My money has doubled twice in the last 5 years. And it just keeps going and doubling and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. Like even my son, like he started out by putting $25 in an investment account a few years ago, right? Well, not even a few years. He's 12 now. My God, he's 12. So time goes by. But he's got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, right, in his investment account. He's also saving to buy his own car. He's also saving to pay for college for himself. He's 12, right? Wow. I've taught him how to do this, right? We grow up thinking the parents got to pay for everything. And then you're all stressed out all the time thinking, how the hell am I going to do this? And that's why people have all these student loans and crazy things because we're not using the 4 buckets, right? We're following along with what everyone else is doing, but everyone else is broke and confused. Everyone's doing it wrong, but no one's teaching it. And it drives me bananas. Like it just kills me every time that I hear people talk about money. And all I want to do is just sit down with them and show them because it really is so easy, but it's so complicated up in your brain. And that's why you can't get over yourself, right? We didn't learn about it in school. It's not your fault. No one taught you, right? No one taught you. It's not your fault. Right. And we have to get over ourselves to be able to take a step back, to just sit down and clear our heads and be like, oh, 4 buckets, that's easy. Right. And our kids, the younger they are, they don't have these feelings. Right. Unless you're constantly yelling about it and like, putting the fear of God in them and, but it's like you can rewrite your own money story. You can rewrite your kids' money stories. Right. And it's just by setting up a few things. You set up your buckets and then you automate it. And it's automated. It's automatic. Like you set it up and you don't have to worry about it. It's just happening. Right. And so like all you need to do is just clear your mind, thank your money, take a step back and look at your life. Right. You've got 5 kids, Jen. Right. Natalie, do you have kids? 5?
4.
4. See? Very close. So we've got 9 kids we're talking about right now that need a financial education.
Plus grandchildren.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then maybe great-grandchildren.
Natalie has grandchildren, not me.
So I'm just saying, right? Like this is important, right? So if you teach yourself how to invest, right? And then we teach our kids how to invest, that's how your kids will be multimillionaires by the time they're your age because they'll start now.
So as far as investing, do we start like, is there an app or a company or a bank or
no.
How do you start with that first $25?
It's learning where, first of all, you need to know what your end goal is with your specific account. Is it retirement? What is it funding, right? Why are you putting this money away, right? So one of the things that I do when we talk about values-based spending is investing, right? And your goals, right? So you always need to know your goals to be able to set everything else up, right? So it's like, I'm not going to just start investing, right? It's the same thing with just saving because a lot of people I talk to, they put money in savings, but there's no purpose for it, right? So then all of a sudden it becomes this pile of money that, oh, I'll just spend it. I have it. And then all of a sudden your pile of money becomes nothing. And then you start saving again and you have another pile, but it doesn't have a purpose, right? So what we want to do is make sure that everything we do has a purpose first. And we decide, so I have a 401k, but what else do I need? Right? And so we figure out what are our goals for yourself and your family, right? For you and your husband. And then you figure out your goals for your kids, right? So you need to know, like, are you going to pay for college for 5 kids or 4 kids? Or do you want them to pay for their own college or get scholarships and grants and, all these other things that they could get where they don't have to get student loans? Like, we got to plan ahead for that. And then once they start working, they're allowed to get a retirement account. The day they start to have income, when they're 14.
Like my son is 17. He's getting ready to start a job at Zaxby's.
Well, then he can open up an IRA immediately.
Oh, now would that be through Zaxby's or would that be separate? Okay.
Well, he would usually part-time employees don't get that type of benefit, but he can ask. I don't know if Zaxby's offers that.
Right.
But
shout out to Zaxby's.
They have good chicken. And I only know about Zaxby's because I moved to the South. They're not in the North.
Oh, yes, I know. All your listeners are like, the what?
And so once you start working, you're allowed to start saving for retirement officially, by the government. And he can start now. Okay. Right? He can set up his like my son's investing. He doesn't have an investment account, a retirement account yet, but he has his investment account. And then once he starts working, he's going to roll that over into his investment account. I keep saying investment account, into his retirement account. Yeah. But I mean, there's so many things you can do, and your kids can have the 4 buckets. You can have the 4 buckets. You just start setting it up and you do it little bit by little bit, step by step by step. But really starting is your mindset and understanding your mindset around investing. Because when you're confused about something and you just want to jump in it, and then you're still confused, you're going to want to take your money out the second your money goes down, right? And that's when panic starts to happen, right? And it's really understanding that the market goes up and down every single day. It goes all day long. I had my son watch it once for 30 minutes. I made him sit there for 30 minutes and watch it. And literally the numbers were going like changing like every second. And he was like, holy cow, but, and then when you put your money in a shoebox, it doesn't do that. Right.
Yeah.
But it's understanding how to get your mind around, when I invest, my money's going to go up and down, but it always goes up, right? It'll go down, but it always goes up. If you look at any chart on any investment tool, you'll see it's always, even though it's like this, it's always going up as it's happening, right? Then there might be a little dip, but then it always goes like back up. So it's understanding that, and understanding that investing is a long period of time. It's starting now, and you're gonna keep going until your last breath, and then knowing where to leave the money after that, like whatever's left over. If you want to spend every penny before you die, do it, right? Or if you give money to your family and let them use it to help with their accounts when you're gone. But it's setting yourself up for your goals is what's most important. And then, there's many different companies out there that you can use for investing. There's what you want to do when you're doing it yourself is not go to one of those big, I can't use names, even though I want to, but because I'm not like that. But the company that I fired because they were charging me so much and it makes me mad and sweat. Yeah. But there's lots of companies out there that make you think that you need them. And then you find out that you can do it all by yourself and not have to pay commissions or anything and no fees. And it's insane. But you can set it up yourself. You set up your own accounts. You set up your kids' accounts. And you're good for the rest of your life.
That's awesome. Well, before we wrap this up, let me ask you the question about the Morgan Wallen tickets.
Yeah.
We talked about it yesterday. And you said we'll talk about it on the podcast. So, as I told you, we're big Morgan Wallen fans if he doesn't go to prison. We're huge fans. And we got an opportunity to buy these really amazing seats. They were $480 a ticket, which is probably more than, I don't know, I've spent on all the concert tickets in my whole life.
Mhm.
So we were down, and then we started having pre-buyer's remorse, and we backed out. So what do you think about that?
I have so many thoughts about this, but it goes back to your values, right? What's important to you. Also, I don't know your whole financial picture. So I honestly can't give you a yes or a no because I don't have everything in front of me, but I can help you think through it. Okay. You've got 5 kids, you've got 4 kids. Do they want to eat this month?
Yes, they want to
It's
eat.
like there's questions you can ask yourself when you don't have your bucket set up and you don't have this. So one of the things that's really important when you're managing your money is planning for these things, right? So if you know you love going to concerts, then you're going to put money aside for concerts every month. Like it's like you're putting money in an envelope, like maybe $100 a month. You're just going to put in an envelope for the next concert so that when the concert comes up, the money will be in the envelope. Does that make
Okay.
sense? So if you don't, right now your envelope has 0 in it. There's a little air and some dust, right? But you know what you can do. When is the concert?
It's July 18th. But you know
Okay.
what I'm going to do? I'm going to say thank you, $18.45. You are meant for the Morgan Wallen concert. Actually, that makes total sense because if I know that money's for Morgan Wallen,
Yes.
then I will happily spend it on that.
Yes.
But right now, I'm telling myself that money is for food and gas and other stuff that my husband asked for that I won't let him get. You know, right?
Yeah.
We now understand that our husband's like, oh, we need this. We're like, no, we don't have the money. However, I really want Morgan Wallen to like sing to me and sweat on me. And so, yeah, I'm going to spend it on that, but not the things you need.
But that's the thing when you're working with money with a partner, right? You need to talk about what's important to both of you and set money aside. You set money aside for what's important to you. He sets separate money aside for things that are important to him. And then you put money aside together for the things that you want to do together, right? Whether it's $50 a month, $100 a month, $10 a month, whatever it is, right? Whatever the things are, and whatever your ultimate goal is for the date that you want to do it, right? So, for example, you have these tickets. Let's say you had 6 months to save for these tickets. You would take that dollar amount, divide it by 6, and every month you would put aside that dollar amount so that you would have the money. So that you would have the money to pay for the tickets. So going forward from this day on,
Right.
you can do something like that. You can put cash away, or you could put, money in your savings account or whatever for that specific thing. And this is what I was saying, why it's so important for money has to have a purpose. Because once it has a purpose, you know what it's for, and then you don't have that guilt because you saved it for that thing. Right?
Yes, that is so smart.
Yeah.
That's really smart. That really makes me feel a lot better. Maybe we won't be so, guilty about everything. But
Yeah.
But Eileen, we have loved having you on the podcast. Will you come back another time for a second round of helping us with money?
I would love to.
Okay. And we're going to attempt to start the bucket system and everything we talked about. And then hopefully we can give you a great update.
That would be amazing.
All right. Let's see. And before we go, let the listeners know where to find you and about your podcast.
Okay, great. Well, the easiest place to find me is momswhomoney.com. And you can find out about all my services there. I do one-on-one coaching. And I also have a group program that I created called Money School for Moms, which is so much fun. It's everything that you never knew you needed to know about money and never learned in school. And my podcast is called Moms Who Money. And you can also find that on my website, or you could listen on your favorite app. And I also have a free gift for your listeners.
Ooh.
Now we can hear Natalie.
Can you hear?
So my free gift is called 6 Steps to Money Smart Kids. And it's a free guide that gets you started teaching money to your kids. And you can easily find that on momswhomoney.com/kids.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you guys for
Thank you so much.
joining
Thank
in.
you.
We had a great time. Good night.
Yes. Good night.